Hi, I'm Mera Langston. Last year, my sister, the golden child of our family, took over the company and waited just one day before firing me. No warning. No thanks for my years of work. Just, your role has been dissolved. Everyone assumed I'd walk away quietly. They forgot one tiny clause buried in the original incorporation agreement, one I fought to include over a decade ago. Today, that little clause is costing them everything. And the most ironic part? They still don't realize I'm the one who pulled the first thread. It started like any other Thursday. I was 38, walking through the polished concrete halls of our Chicago West Loop headquarters, heels clicking. I expected a routine quarterly strategy review. Nothing flashy. I stepped into the glass-paneled conference room and froze. Gold and ivory balloons formed an arch lilies, my mother's favorite, lined the table. Cupcakes and champagne glittered near the wall. A banner celebrated new leadership. My stomach dropped. My parents, the CFO, legal counsel, the board, some smiled, others avoided my gaze. And there she was, Isla, my older sister. Hair slicked back, cream blazer sharp as armor, smirking like she'd won an Oscar. Mera, my mother said too brightly. So glad you could make it. I was stunned. I had scheduled this meeting. Then my father stood. Today begins a new chapter. We're proud to announce Isla as CEO, effective immediately. Applause erupted. I stood frozen, caught between humiliation and disbelief. Not a whisper had prepared me for this. Across the room, Isla soaked in the spotlight under the golden arch. I didn't clap. I couldn't. I locked eyes with her, searching for any flicker of decency. Nothing. She turned smoothly to the board. It's time to streamline leadership and reposition the firm for long-term innovation. Her voice was calm, rehearsed. My ears buzzed. Alicia, our HR director, quietly handed me a folder. My name was on top. Termination, stamped like a wound. My breath caught. I glanced at my parents. They couldn't meet my eyes. Isla approached, heels clicking like punctuation. It's not personal, Mera. You've outgrown your role. Outgrown? I'd built this place. I co-signed the first lease, skipped engagement parties, birthdays, holidays, even Grandpa's funeral, to keep this company alive. And now I was outgrown? I took the folder, the severance barely warm from the printer, and walked out. The applause followed me down the endless hall. Near the elevator, I asked, "You couldn't even call me privately?" She didn't flinch. "This is business, Mirror. You always made it personal." I swiped my badge. Red light. Access denied. A young assistant I'd mentored walked past, carrying a box labeled packed. My framed photo with Mom, my boss lady in progress mug, the walnut pen Dad gave me when we signed the incorporation papers, it was all gone. I sat in my car, gripping the steering wheel. Not a tear yet. Chicago traffic blurred past. I got home before noon. Kitchen too quiet. Coffee machine blinking. New reality. I unpacked the box. Fingers paused on the walnut pen engraved with my initials. ML. Dad had told me, "You're the feature." And suddenly, the tears came. Sharp, quiet, private. Then my phone buzzed a headline. Langston Group names first female CEO. Legacy. That was me. I dug deeper in the box and found a plain envelope, my name, neat script. Inside, a notarized contract from 4 years ago, the night Isla had come to me, panicked that we'd miss payroll. I remembered wiring $250,000 to keep the company alive. The document? A 10% non-dilutable boarding share in Langston Group. Active unless I signed a resignation. I never had. And suddenly I realized I still owned the table they were sitting at. They thought I'd forgotten. Counted on my silence. I ran my thumb over the notary seal. Calm washed over me. This wasn't heartbreak. It was war. I grabbed my keys, loaded years of records, hard drives, bank statements, and shipping receipts. Then I found it, a navy blue folder labeled 2019 Isla Emergency. Emails, transfer receipts, even a flash drive with an audio file of Isla, trembling, whispering, "Mera, I don't know how to thank you. I shouldn't be in charge of anything." I played it again. No tears. No flinch. Just focus. I packed the file, the contract, and my laptop into the leather tote Dad gave me on our first big deal. I left the house, parked outside a quiet cafe, and began gathering every breadcrumb I'd ever left behind. Marketing decks, payroll reports, annotated memos, screenshots, audio backups. They thought I'd fold. They thought I was still the version of Mera who apologized for taking up space. I was done apologizing. Then my inbox pinged. Subject: I don't agree with what they did to you. We should talk. Clark Marino. Our longtime accountant. Quiet, meticulous, invisible in the boardroom, but he saw everything. I replied without hesitation. An hour later, I was walking along Lincoln Avenue at dusk, heading to his building, ready for the next move. Same slouched posture, same soft eyes. But tonight, he looked worn down, tense. I'm glad you came, he said, leading me into a living room that smelled faintly of burnt coffee and detergent. A table was stacked with USBs and folders. They told me to delete everything, he said, board minutes, voting rights, ownership records. My stomach twisted. I was supposed to erase myself. I stayed quiet. Let the weight of it settle. Clark opened his laptop and clicked a folder labeled Not Forgotten. They offer me a bonus if I kept quiet, he said. Figured I'd stay silent, 'cause I'm just the accountant. He pressed play. ISA's voice filled the room. She's never meant to last, emotional dead weight. We need someone more polished, presentable, reliable. I didn't blink. My throat burned. Next, my mother. Not someone who disappears. I hadn't disappeared. I'd been on unpaid leave, caring for Blake, my partner, while he battled stage 2 lymphoma. I ran the books remotely, answered emails during chemo sessions. They knew it. I didn't cry. Not because I finally had what I needed. The time for trust had passed. I asked Clark quietly, did they all sign off on it? He nodded. Your dad hesitated, but ISA and your mom pushed it. He didn't resist for long. And the originals? Everything. I kept it all. Guilt, fear, I guess. I'm not here to punish you, I said. I'm here to correct what they buried. He handed me the USBs with a shake of his head.
There's one more thing, he said.
The retreat, the one you skipped. A chill settled in my chest. That absence had been used to paint me as disengaged. I remembered sitting in the hospital, feeding broth to Blake, silencing my phone while colleagues posted selfies from a luxury spa. When I returned, half my projects were reassigned. No explanation. Fake smiles. Closed doors. You've done enough. Thank you, I said. I'll deny it if they come for me, he said. You won't have to. Not yet, I replied calmly. Back home, I poured water, sat at the kitchen island, the same counter where I once signed loan forms to rescue this family. I connected my encrypted drive, copied the files, and labeled the folder Phoenix. Then I reopened LinkedIn, dormant nearly 6 years. Messages poured in, but one made my heart skip. Hey, stranger. Still got that spark? I may have a proposition. Lyle Parkson. He'd left our firm quietly years ago, the only person who'd ever really seen me. Not the younger daughter, not the placeholder, but me. I always knew who actually brokered those vendor deals. Let's build something that's yours this time. Name on the door. Full partner. Come talk. 2 days later, I stood in front of a sleek glass building in River North. Mirrored windows flashing in morning light. Lobbies smelled of cedar, citrus, espresso. Not the dust and stale legacy I'd left behind. Lyle greeted me with a warm but professional hug. There she is, he said. The ghost they tried to bury. Introductions. Questions. Real engagement. No pretending I was invisible. He slid a folder across the table. Partner track. No waiting. But we know you've got unfinished business. When you're ready. That night, back home, I reopened Clark's USB. One file stopped me cold. Bridge grant terms, signed PPL. Rushed contract, my name signed, but I never signed it. Comparison with my old notebook proved it. Forged. Callista had signed my name. Sloppy, arrogant. I printed the document, Labeled it for the Illinois Office of Business Conduct, confidential for immediate review. They wanted me gone, but I wasn't just coming back. I was coming back with receipts. Standing in the quiet apartment, sealed envelope in hand, I whispered, "They want someone more presentable. Let's see how she looks in front of investors." I reopened LinkedIn, hit refresh. Notifications flooded in, but one ping stopped me cold. Lyle again. Still got that spark? Let's talk. Hours later, at the Cook County Clerk's office, a woman slid a notarized revocation order across the counter. All filed. Effective immediately. I slipped the document into my leather folio. She asked quietly, "You sure this won't stir anything up?" I didn't look back. "Oh, I'm counting on it." Outside, Chicago's haze burned off. Sunlight gleamed off windshields, puddles, even cracks in the sidewalk. Something inside me had shifted. Quiet.
Permanent.
Back home, heels off, black coffee in hand, I opened a folder buried on my desktop. Mom_phone sync_209. Half expecting junk, I found a 2-minute voice file, synced years ago. The date? 3 days before the vote that pushed me out. Callista's voice, crisp. "Mera's smart, sure, but she's too loyal to fight me." I smiled. The fight was just beginning, that's why I'll win. Mom and Dad know it. She still thinks loyalty counts for something. The silence after hit harder than her words. No rage, at least not yet. Just a weight in my chest, slow and heavy, like grief in motion. I hovered over the delete button, then stopped. Instead, I clicked save, dragged the file into a new folder, and labeled it contingency_exposure. I walked to the kitchen, refilled my mug. My hands weren't shaking anymore. Back at the computer, I logged into the Family Trust portal. Thanks to a forgotten clause they never revoked, I still had access. They uploaded the revocation of my power of attorney, stamped, signed, effective today. One click, and Callista's authority vanished. I smiled, not from vengeance, but from clarity. That evening, I slipped on a charcoal blazer I hadn't worn in a year, packed a slim tote with the essentials. Laptop, thumb drive, the revocation, and the voice recording, now burned to disk and labeled in red Sharpie. One last check of my email, use only if she forgets, attachment. Callista_voicemailed, MP3. Sent. I passed the hallway mirror. I wasn't erased anymore. I was a woman who remembered who she was. An hour later, I arrived at the charity gala Callista had orchestrated like a coronation. Her name on banners, programs, donor walls. I wasn't on the guest list.
Didn't matter.
Inside, the ballroom glittered under chandeliers. Guests in gowns and tuxedos sipped champagne, exchanged shallow praise. I moved like smoke through velvet. Callista froze when she saw me. Then, queen of the night, she slipped into character, smooth, polished, practiced. She took the mic. We built Langston and Vale on legacy, on trust, knowing when to lead and when to let go. Her gaze slid to me, just sharp enough to cut. Laughter rippled politely through the crowd. I didn't flinch. I raised my glass, eyes locked on hers. My smile wasn't warm. It said, "You missed something. Too late now." I didn't stay for the applause. As I passed her, heels clicking past hers, I felt the tension under her skin. She was already scrambling, checking phones, transferring assets. Then her voice, behind the curtain, rising in panic. "What do you mean access denied? That account's under my authority, it's been revoked? Who signed off?" She burst into the hallway, heels like gunshots. A board member stepped in. "It's been updated, Callista. Legally, we were notified this morning." I didn't wait to watch her melt down. Outside, the evening air was crisp.
Peace settled over me.
But she followed. "You think this is over? You just made the biggest mistake of your life." I turned slowly. Silence stretched. "Then I guess we both have something to regret," I said calmly. Her voice cracked with rage, not pain. I stepped aside, clear her path to the car. "Have a lovely night, Callista." Back home, stillness welcomed me. Heels off, sweatpants on, glass of water in hand. But then I noticed the door, scratched, deep, Someone had tried to pry it. Mailbox bent. Security footage. Unknown figure near my car. No plates, no face. Nothing stolen, nothing broken. Just enough to unsettle. I sat in the dark, silence, rebuilding my armor. I played the voicemail again. Callista, smug, amused. She won't fight back. She never does. I whispered, let's change that. 2 days later, I parked a block from the West Ridge Community Center, where Callista was presenting to the Neighborhood Development Board. Her white Mercedes already there. I double-checked my bag. The envelope, sealed, notarized, final. Fingers brushing it out of habit. Her voice carried across the hall before I even saw her. Phase 1 of the Lenson Riverfront project is streamlined. Efficiency is everything. I didn't rush. I walked down the aisle, placed the envelope in front of the board chair. Heads turned. Callista froze. Perfect performance mode. Smile, grace. The chairman opened it, scanned the contents, passed it to a colleague. Whispers spread. Then, before moving to item 4, we need a legal review. This revocation affects the standing of recent asset decisions. Callista's smile tightened.
Too loud, too sharp.
For the first time in years, the room no longer belonged to her. I didn't wait. I left before the murmurs began. As I passed the lobby, I heard a whisper. I thought she was gone for good. I kept walking. That night, I met Trina at a cozy cafe. Fairy lights, acoustic music.
You're subtle, she said.
But surgical. Surgical leaves a scar, I replied. She tapped her tablet. It's ready. Transfers, board votes, signatures you never gave. If you go public, it'll shake everything. I stared at my cup. I haven't decided. You helped me once, she said. I won't push, but I'll be ready when you are. I nodded. People love a Phoenix story. They love the fire more. On the drive home, Fleetwood Mac's Landslide played, Mom's favorite. I could hear her voice, light, tired. Let her shine, Mirror. It's her turn. It was never a turn, I whispered. It was a sentence. Back home, I opened the drawer I hadn't touched in years. Inside, the original ledger, wrapped in faded floral fabric. Callista always said it was lost. I never corrected her. I pulled out my phone. I'm ready, I whispered to Trina. That night, I reread every receipt, every scribble. Evidence that I'd always been there, just behind the curtain. 6:04 a.m. Trina texted, live. The silent founder. What really happened at Langston and Vale? It wasn't a story. It was a reckoning. By midday, my inbox flooded. Former interns, clients, investors, all wanting in. Then, Everglen Capital. Mera, let's talk next steps. I poured coffee.
The phone rang. Callista.
You vindictive witch. You think they'll see you as a victim? You're pathetic. I built this. I said nothing. Just tapped end. Afternoon. Seasoned assistant sent legal files accusing me of defamation. One stopped me cold, a 2019 Bridge Grant report. Page 6, her forged ledger, the one she used to cut me out. She didn't know I still had the original. That evening, I met Mr. Long, my attorney. He flipped through the documents, eyes sharp over his glasses. You just gave us everything. I nodded. She always believed she was untouchable. Not anymore. For the first time in years, I didn't feel erased. I felt real. Tomorrow? I asked. Undeniable, he said. I handed him the ledger, wrapped in faded floral fabric. She lied again on record. Well, he said, this just turned into perjury. We're not playing defense anymore. By nightfall, Trina's story hit national syndication. Loud enough to shake the trees, and shake them it did. Later, I drove through the old business park off I-90. Most offices dark, but one glowed, my old suite. Pine chair still in the corner, initials ML carved into the slat. I ran my hand along it. Tonight, I didn't feel like a placeholder. I felt like the author. That night, I didn't sleep, not from fear, but readiness. 2 weeks later, outside the courtroom, shoulders squared, breath steady. Callista sat across, draped in control, trying to look unbothered. Her lawyer pale, flipping through documents too late. The judge. We've reviewed the financial documents. There are inconsistencies between Miss Callista Langston's version and the original ledger. Submitting forged records is not an oversight. It's a criminal offense. This court refers the matter for criminal review. Financial restitution will be paid to the defendant.
Silence.
Callista stared ahead, unblinking. Outside, reporters clicked and questioned. I said nothing. I walked past them, calm, shoulders high. The story spoke for itself. That afternoon, I met Trina at the cafe. Do you regret any of it? I thought. Not the trial. Not Callista. I thought about hospital nights, press releases omitting my name, holidays I worked through while she received applause. I regret thinking I needed their permission to matter, I said. Trina nodded, slow, knowing. That evening, I returned to the studio I helped launch with two other women, both forced out of their companies. My corner was simple. Corkboard, laptop, window facing east, dad's chair polished, plaque fastened, to the one who stayed silent, then spoke the loudest. I didn't cry. I just sat. Let it settle. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming. Looking out at the street, life passing in quiet pursuit of dreams, I felt something rare. Stillness. Not silence, not submission. Just stillness. I emailed Trina. If they reach out again, tell them I've said all I needed to. Then I recorded a voice note to return to if I ever forgot. Sometimes justice doesn't roar. Sometimes it arrives quietly, in a courtroom, an old chair, or a new beginning. I whispered to myself, have you ever had to walk away from the very thing you built just to save yourself? And if my story resonates with you, remember this. Document everything, trust your instincts, and never let someone else's spotlight convince you that you're standing in the dark. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is speak.